Hi everyone, welcome back for part 7. In this one I'm going to be talking about some effects, the continuous raster option, and some expressions, and motion blur. So first thing I'll talk about is continuous raster. It's very important when you're dealing with Illustrator graphics or any vector graphics. You'll see that we scaled up the room so much that it's starting to blur right here. And that's because it's treating the Illustrator file as a bitmap file, and then it's trying to smooth out the pixels. So basically we're zoomed in so far we're seeing pixels, and we don't want that. We want a nice clean line. So what you need to do with all of your Illustrator graphics is there's a little option here. It's a little sun, and it says for vector layer only, continuously rasterize, and you click that on all the layers you want After Effects to continuously look at it and make sure the lines are clean and infinite as far as zooming in. So let's click that, and you'll notice right away that the line goes from blurry to clean. And we'll go in and do it to the baby as well. It's not absolutely necessary if you're not zoomed in, but I usually turn it on for everything just in case I do zoom in. So let's just go in to the baby. You can actually hit Command A, select everything, and just click the sun here. And while we're in here, we'll also click this one here, and this is the motion blur, and you need to have this on the layer for it to recognize it as a motion blur object. So let's just click motion blur on everything as well, so it goes all the way down here. If you have a lot of your layers open with lots of settings open, you can hit U, and it'll clean up everything and bring them all together. So that's just a shortcut. If you hit U again, it'll bring up only the keyframes that are sorry, again, I apologize for all the trucks going by. There's not much I can do about that. So if you hit U again, you get all of the elements that are animated only, and if you hit U twice, you get everything. So that's one key I'm constantly hitting as I work. Okay, so let's go back to main. And you'll notice if I scale this baby up, it's not continuously rasterizing, even though we went into the baby comp and selected continuous raster for all of the layers inside that composition, but yet it's still pixelated. Well, you need to also click it on the top layer as well, and you'll see the lines clean right up. So let's bring them back to regular size. Let's put on continuous raster, and the room, we need to just hit motion blur for that. So now we got motion blur and continuous raster on. So let's preview this. You can see his hands are going up and down, but they're not really, there's no motion blur. And the reason for that is you have to enable it for the composition you're working on for you to preview it. This will render with motion blur. If we were to do a final render output, it will render with motion blur, but for us to preview it, we need to click this button right here. And then you'll see anything moving will have a few frames of motion blur. Actually, I think it's 16 by default motion blur frames that are rendered so that anything moving looks more realistic to the human eye. And you'll see it on the hair as well, when the hair is at its fastest velocity. So that's great. We got motion blur, continuous raster on. The other things I wanted to talk about have to do with effects and expressions. And in order to do that, I'm going to actually get you guys to include the light bulb as part of when we looked at the animation here, baby shot, there's a light bulb in the scene. And the light bulb is kind of wiggling around, and these little lines here are fading in and out. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And to do that, it's some effects and expressions. It's very basic. So I've included that in the project file. So if you go in to number 7, we can import light bulb, and just do that by dragging it right in. So we got this light bulb, and let's just put it right into the scene right now. And I'm gonna move the baby down and make him a little smaller. And the great thing about nested comps is we can move this and affect it however we want in this comp, and it's not placing keyframes for position or anything. It just is exactly the same movie wherever we put it. We put it here, it's the same things are going on. So it's like a little movie clip of its own, which is great. Okay, so we got the light bulb here, and that's what we wanted. First thing, I'm going to move the anchor point, so when we have it wiggle around, it's not wiggling around this point. So hit Y, bring down the anchor point somewhere to there. Alright. One of the things I forgot to do when I made the light bulb is separate the layers for the lines, the shine lines, and for the light bulb itself. So that's not a big deal. We can fix that right now without going into Illustrator. If you click the pen tool here, or hit G, you can draw a really quick mask around this light bulb, and just do it by clicking around it. Try not to get too far into these lines. Try to go in between the bulb and the shine lines. And what this will do is it'll separate the bulb from the lines. Then just click on this light bulb layer, hit Command D for duplicate, hit MM to bring up the mask options. That's M twice, and you'll see this little drop down here. And if you hit MM up for this one, we got the same thing. We just duplicated the layer, but one of them we have on add, which means everything inside the mask, add it or show it, and the other one's on add. So we have two light bulbs stacked on top of each other, but we want the second light bulb to subtract, so everything inside the mask it eliminates and keeps everything not inside the mask. So now we have them separated. Got the shine lines here, and we got the bulb here. And we can click away so we don't see the mask anymore. You can rename these as shine lines and bulb so you don't get confused. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is add a couple of expressions so that this bulb is animated. And the great thing with expressions is you don't need any keyframes. Expressions uses math to calculate some random or non-random equations that control either position, rotation, or scale. So let's do that. If we click on R for rotation, to add an expression to a keyframe, hit Alt and then click the stopwatch, and it'll see it goes red here, and it has a little bar here where we can type in a script. But there's also a little expression menu here, so you don't have to remember all of the commands because they have them all in this menu here, and you can go through these and try them out. The one we want is called wiggle, and I usually just type it, so I'm not sure exactly where it is. Let me just find it. Oh, it is on property. Anyway, okay, so here's wiggle. Click that one, and it adds it with all of the options available. And we only really want frequency and amplitude. The rest of these, I'm not sure what they do. So when I do this, I just type wiggle and then parentheses, and then I think of how many times per second I want it to wiggle. That's the first number. So usually for a nice wobble, I just do 2 or 1. So let's start off with 2, and then how many degrees, or the value in which it'll be wiggling. So maybe 30 degrees or something like that, or 20. Let's try 20. 220. And to end your expression, always do the semicolon, and that it tells it that this line is done. Okay, so let's try that out, and you'll see. Well, first thing we'll see is, yep, it's wiggling nicely. And that's about how much wiggle I was hoping for. I'll just hit 0 for a preview. It's a little bit crazy, actually, a little bit too much. So let's drop this down to 1.5. And the lines, these shine lines should be moving with it. So what we need to do is, I'm just going to disactivate this expression for a second, and I'll parent the shine lines to the light bulb, and then reactivate it by clicking this equals, and we'll test it out. So now the shine lines are moving with the light bulb, which is great. I did notice our mask was cutting a bit of the light bulb right here, so I'm just going to move that up, and on the light bulb as well, just move that one up a bit. Okay, so we got a nice little wiggle going on there. I'm gonna also wiggle the position. So if we select the light bulb, hit P for position, Alt, click the stopwatch, and just type wiggle and open bracket, and we'll do, this is for position, so it's going to be moving it around a bit, but not rotating it. So we'll go 1.5 as well, and maybe 10. And let's just hit 0 for a preview. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So in the video, the ting sound is when it comes in. So let's do that. If you hold down Command, we get a sound preview, and it's almost exactly where we started this clip. So I'll just take these both, hit T for opacity, and add a keyframe, and move the keyframes up 2 frames, and then change the opacity to 0, and that'll add another keyframe. So when the thing goes ting, the light bulb appears. And the last thing we want to do, one thing I'm going to show you right now is, or add as well, is continuous raster and motion blur for that as well. It's kind of something I do for everything, is add these 2 things, because everything looks better with it on, so most of the time. Okay, so it's almost there, except for the shines the shines aren't flickering, and we want kind of a flicker effect. So in order to do that, we're gonna go into the effects palette. We'll click the light bulb, click effects and presets here, and I always use this little menu because you can search. You can get all the effects here as well, but I find this one is easier and faster to use. So we're gonna select or search for glow. So just type glow, and there's a bunch of different glows depending on what plugins you have, or yeah, there's a few here. But anyways, we want stylized glow. So let's if you have light bulb selected, you can just double click this. Okay, so now we have a glow on the light bulb here, but you can tell that it's just blowing it out and it doesn't look that good. So there's a bunch of different settings, and one of them is threshold. And if we play with the threshold, you can see it has an effect on the glow. So let's bring it down a bit, and then let's bring the radius, or sorry, let's bring it up a bit to say 92, and bring the glow radius up as well. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. It's kind of going to like a muddy dark color here, and that's because it's trying to glow the black lines as well. So, and I don't like that. So let's, instead of it glowing original colors, let's glow A and B colors. And that's now gonna glow from white to this black. But we're gonna change that. We're gonna make it glow from yellow to yellow. Let's just pick a nice yellow. Doesn't matter how close you get, just pick anything in the yellow. And you'll see now it doesn't go to that muddy dark color, which is more what we want. Great, so you'll notice there's a glow intensity, and this is what we're gonna animate. And you'll see as I move it up and down, it's kind of looks like the bulb is glowing, which is perfect. So let's just hit and just like what we did before with the expression on the stopwatch, we can do that inside of effects as well. So on the glow intensity, select Alt, hit glow intensity, and we get that red indicator, so we know we are using an expression. And let's just type wiggle. We'll go 2, and we want this to kind of go from non-intense to completely intense. So I think that's about, I think it's 100. So let's just go 100 for now and see how that looks. It's kind of trial and error. So obviously this is a little crazy. I think that the glow intensity was, let's just turn it off for a sec and see. Oh yeah, it actually only goes to, we only want it to go from 0 to 2 at the most. So let's change this to 2. There. So I'm just gonna hit 0 for a preview. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think I'm gonna get it to wiggle faster on this one. So let's just change that to 4, the first one. The first one's the frequency, the second one's intensity. So let's go hit 0 again. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm happy with that. Last thing we're gonna do is add an expression on the shine line so that they're also fading in and out. So if we go to the shine lines, there's an opacity. We already have keyframes for opacity, and that's okay. You can still add an expression on something that has keyframes already, which is really powerful and really great. So let's do that. Even though the stopwatch is already selected, you can still hit Alt and select the stopwatch. It doesn't delete the keyframes we already have, but it also gives us an option to add an expression. So let's wiggle this one. And this one's from 0 to 100 opacity, and that's what we want. And we're gonna go 4 because we knew that's kind of the flicker that we were looking for in the other part. So let's go 4, 100, and semicolon, and hit 0 preview. Oh yeah. Looking good. Oh yeah. I think the the lines aren't flickering as much as I want. And that's because it goes from 0 to 100 here when it comes in. And in order for the expression to work properly, it goes above and below the number that you have selected. So on this keyframe, for it, instead of it going from 0 to 100, let's go to 0 to 50. And then you'll notice that they're flickering more now. And I think that's great. That's perfect. Okay. Okay, so that's it for this one. And in the next one, I'm going to be showing you how to export this and making some low-res previews to look at, and getting it ready to send off or use it in whatever project you're working in. All right, I'll see you there.